Walter was a young traveler who loved to visit new places and learn about different cultures. One day, his journey took him to a small, quiet African village that was hidden deep inside the forest. The village was old and surrounded by tall trees that blocked most of the sunlight. When Walter arrived, he felt the air was heavy and silent, almost as if the place was carrying secrets that no one wanted to share. The villagers welcomed him politely, but with a strange caution in their eyes. They gave him food and a place to stay, but they spoke little to him. At first, Walter thought they were just shy people who were not used to visitors. But later, he realized that their silence was not because of shyness, it was because of fear. On his first evening in the village, Walter sat near the fire with some elders. They told him about an ancient event called the Night Masquerade. The elders spoke in low voices, as if the very name of the event could bring danger. Walter listened closely, curious to know more. They explained that the Night Masquerade was not like any other festival. It was not about music, dancing, or joy. Instead, it was a night when the spirits of the dead returned to walk among the living. The dead wore masks, and through those masks, they could hide their hollow faces. Every 50 years, this terrifying festival returned, and the people of the village were forced to stay inside their homes, never looking outside. The elders warned Walter that outsiders were never allowed to witness the masquerade. They said that anyone who dared to look at the spirits would be cursed forever. Walter listened, but deep inside, his curiosity began to grow stronger. He wanted to know the truth behind this mysterious night. The next day, Walter woke up early and walked through the village. Everywhere he looked, he could see people preparing for something. The men were fixing the doors and windows of their homes, making sure no gaps were left open. Women were gathering food and water, storing enough supplies to last through the night. Children were not allowed to play outside. Instead, they were rushed indoors by their mothers. Walter asked one of the younger men what was happening. The man looked at him nervously and whispered, "The night is coming. The masquerade is near." Then, without saying more, he walked away quickly as if he had already said too much. Confused but curious, Walter went back to the elders to ask again about the masquerade. This time, their faces grew pale when he mentioned it. One of the oldest men in the village leaned forward and said in a shaking voice, "You must understand, stranger, the masquerade is not for your eyes. It is not a game. It is not a festival to enjoy. It is a night of fear." The elder explained that on this night, spirits of the dead would return. They came wearing masks because if anyone looked upon their real faces, they would lose their soul. The masks allowed the dead to blend in, but also gave them the power to choose new victims. Sometimes, the spirits would take away someone from the village, and that person would never be seen again. Walter was shocked. He asked, "But why do you not fight them? Why do you not stop this?" The elder shook his head sadly. "You cannot fight the dead. We can only survive by hiding and waiting until the night passes." That evening, the village grew silent. The drums had not yet begun, but Walter could feel the fear rising in the air. The forbidden night was coming closer, and his curiosity grew stronger with every moment. As the sun began to set, Walter noticed that the entire village was preparing for the night with even greater urgency. Doors were shut and locked, windows were sealed with wooden planks, and fires were put out early. The villagers whispered prayers, their voices trembling with fear. By the time darkness fell, the whole place looked abandoned, as if no one lived there at all. Walter sat alone in the small hut given to him. At first, he tried to sleep, but the silence outside felt too heavy. Then, slowly, he began to hear something. It started faintly, like a heartbeat in the distance, boom, boom, boom. It was the sound of drums. With each beat, The sound grew louder, echoing through the forest. Along with the drums came faint voices, chants in a language Walter could not understand. His heart began to race. The villagers had warned him not to look, not to step outside, not to witness what was coming. But Walter's curiosity was stronger than his fear. He wanted to know if the legends were real. Were the spirits truly out there? Or was it just an old story meant to scare outsiders? He pressed his ear against the door, listening closely. The chants grew louder, mixed with strange laughter and the sound of feet moving in rhythm. The temptation became too strong. Walter lit a small lantern and slowly pushed the door open. The air outside was cold, carrying the smell of burning herbs and something strange, like smoke mixed with decay. Against his better judgment, Walter stepped outside. The village was empty, but from the forest came a glowing light, flickering in colors he had never seen before. The drums thundered, and the chants rose higher. Walter felt his feet moving almost by themselves, pulling him toward the forbidden sound. Curiosity had taken control of him. Step by step, he walked into the dark forest, unaware that what he was about to see could change his life forever. Walter walked deeper into the forest, following the strange glow that pulsed like fireflies in the darkness. The beating of the drums grew louder, shaking the ground beneath his feet. Soon, he reached a wide clearing surrounded by tall, crooked trees. The air was thick with mist, and the light he had seen before now revealed itself clearly. It came from dozens of lanterns hanging in the trees, glowing in strange colors of red, green, and blue. At the center of the clearing, a circle of masked figures danced around a large fire. Their movements were slow but powerful, their bodies swaying as if they were caught in a trance. The masks they wore were unlike anything Walter had ever seen: long faces, twisted smiles, glowing eyes painted with strange symbols. Some looked like animals, others like distorted human faces. At first, Walter thought these were just villagers dressed for a ritual. But when he looked closer, he felt a chill crawl through his body. The dancers' feet did not fully touch the ground. Their movements were unnatural, floating slightly above the earth. Their shadows twisted in directions that made no sense, bending away from the fire instead of toward it. The realization struck him: these were not people. These were spirits, the dead who had returned for the masquerade. The fire roared higher, and the masked figures clapped in unison, their hollow voices chanting words that Walter could not understand. Suddenly, one of them tilted its mask toward him. Walter froze as glowing eyes pierced through the holes. Slowly, other spirits began to notice him too, their heads turning unnaturally, one after another, until nearly all the dancers had stopped to stare at him. A shiver ran down Walter's spine. He knew he had seen something no outsider was ever meant to witness. The masks of the dead were real, and now they had seen him too. Walter's breath caught in his throat as every masked spirit in the clearing turned toward him. Their movements stopped, and the air grew unbearably heavy. The drums continued to beat, but now they sounded slower, deeper, almost like a heartbeat meant only for him. One of the masked figures broke away from the circle. It moved closer, its feet gliding above the ground as though it floated. Its mask was longer than the others, painted white with black cracks running across it, and two glowing red eyes shone through the holes. Walter wanted to run, but his legs felt frozen. The spirit stopped just a few feet from him. The chanting around the fire grew quiet, until the only sound was the fire crackling and Walter's pounding heart. Then, the spirit leaned forward, and a voice, hollow and echoing, slipped from behind the mask. "You should not be here, living one." Walter's lantern flickered as if the air itself was trembling. The spirit continued in a whisper that felt sharp and cold. "This night is not yours. The masquerade belongs to the dead. Leave now, before the last drum beat, or you will join us forever." Walter's mouth went dry. He tried to speak, but no words came out. His body shook as the spirit raised a thin, bony hand and pointed toward the village. The gesture was not violent, but it carried a warning stronger than any threat. Behind the spirit, the others still stared at him. Some tilted their masks unnaturally, as if curious. A few even began to step closer, their masks glowing brighter with each drumbeat. Walter finally managed to take a step back. His fear was stronger than his curiosity now. He understood the warning. The masquerade was not a story, not a legend. It was real, and it was deadly. But the drums were growing faster, and Walter knew he had only moments to decide. If he stayed too long, the spirits would not warn him again. Walter's chest tightened as the warning of the spirit echoed in his mind. "Leave before the last drum beat, or you will join us forever." He wanted to obey, but the moment he turned to run, the circle of masked figures began to move again. Their steps grew faster, their chanting louder, and their glowing masks lit up the clearing like fire. Suddenly, the spirits began removing their masks. Walter's stomach twisted in horror. Beneath the masks, their faces were not human. Some were hollow, with black holes where eyes and mouths should have been. Others had stretched skin, sharp teeth, or no faces at all. The masks had hidden the truth. The spirits were monsters of the dead. The sight broke Walter's fear into raw panic. He bolted toward the trees, clutching his lantern as he ran. The forest seemed endless, each path twisting and turning unnaturally. Branches scratched his arms, roots pulled at his feet, and the mist grew thicker, making it hard to see. Behind him, he heard the spirits chasing. Their footsteps were strange, sometimes silent, sometimes thundering like dozens of drums pounding together. Their whispers floated through the air, calling his name in hollow voices. "Walter! Walter!" Every time he thought he found the way back, the path shifted, leading him deeper into the forest. It was as if the woods themselves were alive, trapping him inside the masquerade. His lantern began to dim, and shadows stretched long across the trees. Walter's heart pounded. He knew if the light went out, he would be swallowed by the darkness, and then the spirits would claim him. Still, he forced himself to run, pushing his tired body forward. The drums were rising to a peak, faster and louder, shaking the ground. Walter realized with dread that the last drumbeat was approaching. If he did not escape before it struck, he would never leave the masquerade again. Walter stumbled through the twisting forest, his breath ragged, his legs heavy with exhaustion. The sound of the drums grew louder and louder, echoing through his bones. Each beat seemed to chase him, pressing him forward while the voices of the spirits whispered all around him. Their hollow calls repeated his name like a curse. "Walter! Walter, join us!" He could feel them closing in. Shadows stretched between the trees. Glowing masks appeared and disappeared like fireflies in the fog. Walter clutched his lantern tightly, praying the light would not die. Ahead, he finally saw something, an opening in the trees. Beyond it, faintly glowing in the night, was the edge of the village. With renewed strength, Walter forced himself to run faster. But the spirits were faster too. They floated between the trees, their hollow faces stretching closer, their masks blazing brighter. Some reached out with long, bony hands, their fingers just inches from Walter's back. The drums reached their peak boom, 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 like thunder shaking the earth. Walter's ears rang, his chest burned, and his vision blurred, but he did not stop. Just as the final drumbeat struck, he threw himself forward, crashing past the last tree and landing on the dirt path that led into the village. In that instant, everything behind him vanished. The drums fell silent, the glowing masks disappeared, and the forest became still, as if nothing had ever happened. Walter lay trembling on the ground, his lantern shattered beside him. The villagers found him at dawn, lying unconscious near the boundary of the village. When he woke, they stared at him with fear in their eyes. Beside him, half buried in the dirt, was a mask. It was cracked, blackened, and still glowing faintly. Walter knew then that the masquerade had marked him. He had escaped for now, but the mask was proof that the spirits had not forgotten him. One day, when the drums returned, they would come for him again. Thank you so much for watching the Night Masquerade. I truly appreciate your time and support. It means the world to me. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like the video, share it with friends, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Your subscription helps me bring you more horror stories every week, and it keeps our community growing stronger. Hit the bell icon so you never miss the next terrifying story waiting for you. Once again, thank you to all my viewers and subscribers. You are the reason this channel is alive. Stay safe, stay curious, and remember, some nights are better left unseen. See you in the next story.